ॐ कालकालाय विद्महे कालातीताय धीमहि तन्नः भैरव प्रचोदयात्। ॐ हिङ्गुळे परमहिङ्गुळे अमृतरूपिणी तनुशक्ति मनःशिवे श्रीहिङ्गुळाय नमः। ॐ भैरवाय नमः। ॐ भैरवाय नमः। ॐ भैरवाय नमः। Namaskaram. Welcome to yet another video about our Ishtartha Bhairava, Guru Bhairava. Today we will try to understand our Guru Bhairava one step closer as whatever we have known him a minute before. In today's episode, we will talk about the Swarupa of him which has never been spoken, or even if it has been spoken, it is very minimally it's been spoken about it. It's about a known Swarupa around us, but actually which is unseen. We feel that actually he is a different entity, but yes, being a different entity, his Swarupa is actually embedded in it. Maybe it would be too early to disclose all this, but still, let me just tell you. There is something called Sarpa Dosha. Like this particular word is normally being used by every of the astrologers, every of the Vedic rituals when it is being done. We normally do a certain types of puja vidhanas when it comes to the Sarpadosha. So today, our Bhairava topic, or we can call it as today's the Bhairava Swarupa, whatever we are going to bring it in front of you, and what you're going to understand is often seen as around us, but not being connected to the topic. Yes, you have understood rightly. It's Nāga Bhairava. Maybe actually you may be wondering what is this Nāga Bhairava is all about. See, especially in the dreams as well as in the rituals, in the fear of the karma, in the spiral of the DNA, or we can call it as in the soul cry of the release, there is one or the other way the snake is connected to us. He is like beneath the fire, forgotten oath which we have all done, and he is none other than Nāga Bhairava, the guardian of the serpent gateway. We may think that actually when it comes to the Sarpa Dosha or Naga, we always see that actually it is an external entity. Let me also just put across a different wave perspective when it comes to the Nāga Bhairava or Sarpa Dosha. We will be able to understand in this particular video about how exactly this is connected. But before that, let me also tell you, hope you have already seen the 64 Bhairava video which we have already shared. In 64 Bhairava video, we have spoken about Nāga Bhairava twice. Okay? It is one in the Ashtanga Bhairava of Kapala Bhairava, Nāga Bhairava Swarupa will come. Bhishana Bhairava also actually the Nāga Bhairava Swarupa comes. See here, what we need to understand is Kapala Bhairava is associated to the cremation ground, or we can call it as a Daiva Swarupa of the death, or the Daiva Swarupa of a transformation, or he takes care the domain or overlap of the serpent as well as ancestral forces. He is actually Kapala Bhairava because he carries the memory, he carries the karma. So that particular, if you see, he Brahma Hatya, he carries the 12 years of Brahma Hatya around after the actually chopping off the Brahma's fifth head. So he carries the memory, we call it as actually the ancestral forces, or we can call it as the memory of our past karmas. Okay. Similar to that, even the Bhishana Bhairava is also Naga Bhairava is connected to it. It is actually form of protective and subconscious. It is like more like a Vedic rituals. We can call it as purping rituals of Vedic. Here, what we need to understand is, in 64 Bhairavas, there are 5 different Swarupas, like we can call this as 64 Bhairava Traditions. See, again, there is actually, we call it as 94 Margas in the Shaivism, out of which you will be shocked to hear this 64 Margas or traditions are of only Bhairava only. So in the 64, 5 of them are actually connected to the Naga. And Naga is like Nagendra Bhairava, it is like Kalinga Bhairava, it is one is like Patala Bhairava, and one is like Nāga Bhairava, and third is actually Ashamika Bhairava. See, these 5 Bhairava Swarupas are very, very, very critical, or we can call it as crucial when it comes to the Naga Sampradaya, or we can call it as when Kaula Samskara or Kaula Samskriti, Kaula traditions, basically 64 Bhairava traditions are actually been articulated. We see that actually Bhairava is one Swarupa. No, not at all. In each Swarupa, he is connected to one particular Rishi Guni or Rishi Sampradaya, where actually a particular activation or a Paddhati is being released. Here, especially in the 64, 5 of them are actually of Naga. Nagendra Bhairava. He is actually like a, as name disclose, he is a Lord of Snake, we can call it as, or we can tell like actually Naga is nothing but a serpent. Possibly same like Naga Bhairava, he is connected to Nagendra Bhairava, is actually connected to that serpent. Okay. Kalinga Bhairava is actually a serpent of the time. Similar to Kala Bhairava, there is something called as in Kalinga Bhairava, which is connected to the time. Symbolic inner time energies. Every one of us actually carry a something called as inner time and external time. Maybe actually you may have heard that many of them actually will tell your inner time has come when it comes to the spirituality. Till then actually no one will tell. Or even when you are getting prosperity in your life, normally they will tell that actually Guru Bhala has been activated or your Kala has been changed. Similar to that, it is an external time and there is an internal time. Internal time is connected to something like inner connections, spiritual growth. So Kalinga Bhairava is a serpent of the time, of symbolic the inner time. Kalinga Bhairava is also, sometimes it is connected to Kundalini also. Maybe we will come to that to those dots. Maybe we will try to understand in much more better. There is one more Bhairava Swarupa, which is actually Patala Bhairava. We call it as Atala, Vitala, Patala, Tala, Tala, Sata, Tala, Tala, Sutala. Like this, actually, there are 7 different lokas beneath the earth or Bhuloka. Out of which, actually, Patala Loka is actually it's a world of Nagas. Okay, where Naga Loka is resided there. And Patala Loka is also called as a Naga Loka also. Here, particularly that particular realm is governed by Bhairava, Patala Bhairava. Okay, and the 4th is Naga Bhairava. It is the, if you see like, I hope you have seen the mythological movies or mythological stories, Ramayana, Mahabharata. Mainly actually whenever we have a characteristics like any of the, let's take an example like Arjuna as well as a Karna is trying to be in a battlefield and trying to fight in between, or Rama or Ravana or Lakshmana, any of them actually doing a battlefield, they used to actually use weapons, and they used to actually use that weapons, and whenever they used to use the bow and arrow, the arrow used to be like in a serpent format. Those serpent format is called Nāga Bhairava Ayudha. We call it as this particular warrior of serpent is called, the particular devata which give the bestow of the Naga Shakti is actually Nāga Bhairava. It is seen, this particular sequence is actually been conveyed in actually Kaula Panchamarga. Okay, Kaula Panchamarga or Kaula Panchanga, this particular Naga Bhairava association information has been added. The 5th is actually Ashamika Bhairava. Ashamika Bhairava is connected to the hidden subterranes. We can call it as like similar to the Naga Devata. There is other reptiles which is connected to the very hidden loka. They are like dragons. We can call it as hidden dragons. Even if you see in the Chinese astrology, similar to the Rahu Ketu, there is actually something called as dragons, and that is actually connected to Ashamika. There is a something, the snake like a format, dragon format. Uh, it is actually connected to Ashamika Bhairava. Here, these forces, external energy forces, which will always be governing us, supporting us, and making us always vibrant, is connected to the subterranean energy forces. And here, this Ashamika Bhairava is the fifth 64 in out of 64 traditions of the Bhairava Paddhati. These five are exclusively been connected to the Naga Bhairavas. So before jumping into the next discussion topic, let me just tell you, as I told you in earlier, hope you have understood, you have heard something called as deeper questions whenever you go, especially when you go to the astrologer, or if something is not going good in our life, or if there is always maybe like marriages are not happening in the one's life, or kids are not, they are not able to get the next generation is not able to come into the existence for the couples. Normally what we do is we go to the astrologer. An astrologer, after seeing the kundli, he normally tells that actually it is a Sarpadosha. Let's first understand what is Sarpadosha. Where is that actually? Even after doing any pujas, like many of them actually will tell me like, we have already done the Naga Sarpadosha puja 3 or 5 years before, and why still the Naga Sarpadosha is there? But few of the astrologers will tell, no, you are supposed to perform again. Maybe the placement of the puja vidhana or puja paddhati may change. But if you see this tagline as Sarpadosha is a common for everyone, they will tell that actually you have a Sarpadosha. Let me make you clear. Even the astrologer is not wrong, even we are not wrong. You may be wondering what I'm trying to convey here. See, Sarpadosha still remains even after doing any kind of a Sarpadosha Nivarana. I'm taking a pause here. I know that actually you will be wondering that actually how I was able to make this statement. Let me just clarify you that this mysteries goes into beyond the planets. Okay, it is like somewhat like we only see that actually if the particular Naga particular placement of the planets is there in the particular Kundalini, and that Kundli actually especially like 157 and normally like 9th house, if we have a Rahu Ketu, we see that actually from astrological perspective it is like a Naga Sarpadosha. And even in Sarpadosha is also, it is divided into nakshatra based, and there are different types of Naga like Padmanaga, Naga, and many are there. So before stepping into that particular step, let me just tell you, there is a mysteries going beyond the planets. You may be thinking like, it is, how exactly it is connected? It is connected to our ancestors, okay, ancestor memories, or we can call it as karmic records, or energy bodies as we human come into this existence. You may be wondering like how exactly. Let me explain this layer and how it is works. Mythologically as well as in astrologically, and even in the logical as well as in tantric, you may be wondering like how exactly these are connected. Let me actually share this as a different steps or as information which you can understand much more better. There is something called as a curse, forgotten curse, or we call it as Sarpadosha or karma. Normally, most of the people who ever come to me, or whoever actually I have heard, or even I have gone through this particular stages, when we go to the astrologer, they will tell that actually Sarpadosha is there. We always recall, none of me or any of our family members have actually killed the snakes. Serpent affliction has never been done from me or any of my forefathers. Then how exactly this Sarpadosha is there in my kundli? This is one of a question normally most of the people will be having. You may also be wondering that actually Sarpadosha is only for me or the people in the West. Let me just connect this. Astrologically, it is linked to the affliction of the key houses. As I told you earlier, in the Kundli, we see that actually whenever the Lagna Patri of the particular individual, if the particular Rahu Ketu is connected to 1, 5, 7 and 9th house, then it is true that actually the more planets also will be residing in that particular houses. But still, whenever we have this placement of the Rahu Ketu in this particular houses, I'm talking about Lagna chart. Okay, there are 60 different divisional charts we see particularly for the particular reasons. Particularly for Adhathana, we should D2. When it comes to the relationship, again we see from a D4 perspective. When it comes to the profession, D9 we see it. Again, let me just not go into the astrological part. What I'm trying to convey is in the Lagna chart, we normally see 1, 5, 7 and 9. If any of these houses in your Patri has Rahu Ketu been placed along with any kind of a planets, any of the planets or no planets, only Rahu Ketu has been placed, it has been considered as Sarpadosha. Let me just tell you, it is more than a planet. How logically I think is it is more than a planets, because ancestors karma what we carried from the past or a forgotten timelines especially invokes the harms of a serpent. Basically, knowingly unknowingly, maybe our forefathers during creating or during construction of the house, maybe they have actually demolished the we call it as hutta means actually the where the serpent lives. Okay, the naga home, or we can call it the serpent where it stays. We normally broken sacred oaths, or we maybe have actually like took some oath to do some kind of a puja vidhana and we have forgotten it, and we may be like actually bulldoze the particular land to build our own houses, knowingly or unknowingly. Let me just tell you, you may be thinking that actually no, I am not done it. The contractor of the house, the building, someone actually, we are staying in the apartment or we are staying in the resident, but we don't know, like someone has done it. No, you are staying in that particular position. Let us remind ourselves that actually we are staying in their places. We are not staying in the something called as an urban land. We have demolished all the forest places, and in these particular places wherever we are currently residing, one or the other way it is connected to the naga. Serpents was there here. Knowingly, unknowingly, they have actually demolished or bulldozed it. This is called actually somewhat like disrespect of the force energies which our ancestors have done. Maybe they have forgotten. We don't know. Maybe we have also done. We don't know. In some other life, or it may be like it is connected to our own life for even constructing of any houses. So normally we tell that actually we need to clean the land and then only we need to stand. The construction need to be stand up. Trust me, it is one or the other way, it is a Sarpadosha. Sarpadosha continues. Let me connect this. Ancient lore, especially when harming the serpent, means harming the especially guardian of the time as well as a memory. Let me remind you, Nagas are connected to something like time as well as memory, because there is something called as serpent's memory. Once it is being harmed, it has been told or it has been said even in a Vedic that 12 years actually of karma phala we need to bow. Like 12 years, Nagas will ensure that actually the particular person or the particular family, if they have done any kind of a truti, any kind of a trouble to the serpents, they will carry the memory for 12 years. And the memory becomes as karma. Okay? And until we acknowledge or face that and heal that, the Sarpadosha has never been gone. This is one aspect of it. Let me just tell you the second aspect, actually, what we see from the Sarpadosha perspective. There is an ancestor karma like Pitru Dosha, or we call it as Sarpa Dosha. Normally, these are the two terminologies which is very frequently being used when it comes to the astrologers. In a Vedic thoughts, especially Naga, serpents are the guardians of the ancestral realm. We call that actually Pitruloka. In Pitruloka, the guardian of the Pitruloka is Nagas. We may be wondering, Patala Loka is guardians is also serpent, and Pitruloka is also serpent. Yes, Pitruloka, the guardian of the Pitruloka is actually serpents, and they store certain memories like the time as well as the subtle desire. Actually, one individual soul carry. It is not a person. I'm telling about the souls. We may change the different bodies as what we change our regular dresses, but you know that actually in the Sanatana it has been very clearly told all of us actually carry one particular Atma, and that Atma actually has one time and it has a certain desires. And it is not going to, it has never been born and it's never going to die. It is only going to get merged into the supreme consciousness of Bhairava, or we call it as a supreme Paramatma or Paramashiva. The consciousness will be getting connected to it. But let me also tell you, in that ancestor, when their particular ancestors harm their child, woman, cow, or a serpent, it is not only serpents. Let me just tell you, any kind of child, if they do any child abuse, any kind of a woman, because she carries particular memory. I'll tell you why. Okay, child, woman, cow, as well as the serpents. Here, their karma passes from runanubandha. We call it as runanubandha. If you ask, like actually how exactly our memories are getting connected, it is all about runanubandha, what we carry. Runanubandha is somewhat like the past uncleared dues. And the dues happens when we accumulate certain kinds of karma, when we do certain wrong to the child, our own child or a different child. It's not like connected to our own child. No, a child who is a Vatu, who is less than 16 years, even abusing physically or mentally or emotionally, it has been considered as karma. Women, especially a carrying woman, we have any kind of disrespect to them, we carry a deepest karma. Second, a woman who is, we call it as like post pregnancy, Bananti, we call it as Bananti. If she is being forced, or if she is actually being forced to actually do something which is really not wrong, I'm talking from a husband and wife relation perspective, trust me, that is a deepest karma as one we carry it. Third, the cow. Cow is called Gomata. Gomata, when she is being abused, for example, you may be asking, like in West actually they eat every sort of animals. Trust me, one or the other way, you feel that actually they are very happy today. You just go and check with them. None of them, maybe actually on a very physical or a logical level, they tell that actually they are very happy. But trust me, they are carrying so much deepest karma, knowingly or unknowingly. Maybe they will not be able to go to the higher realms of their knowledge or their higher realms of their spiritual growth. They'll always go down. Gohatya. The fourth is actually serpents. Knowingly or unknowingly, as I told you, like serpents actually is not like directly we are killing it. Knowingly or unknowingly, when we even build the house, even if we stay in that particular house, we really don't know who is there, but we are staying there. We are carrying that memories. The memories of the karma which someone has done or my ancestors have done, we are carrying those. So similarly, Runanubandha, we carry this Runa. We carry such kind of a timeline of desires, unfulfilled desires, or unfulfilled actions, or actions which has been performed by our ancestors as Runanubandha. See, this shows up as like somewhat like a family cycles of suffering. Entire family will be suffering, like they will not be having the next generation, or even if they have it, they will be having some problems with their particular kids or with their health, or for example, like unexplained illness or the infertility happening in the family generation, or a recurring dream of snakes or a fear of snakes connecting to the Sarpaloka. That is also ancestors, what we call it as Sarpadosha. Unfinished karma around lineage, children as well as spiritual blockages. For example, spiritual blockages means we may consider that actually doing after so many years of sadhana, or let's take a very small example. We have taken sankalpa that actually I will be performing one mandala of the sadhana. Trust me, you will not be able to complete it. At the nth minute, or the before the nth minute, or the midway, you will drop it. One, lethargic, or you may feel that actually I'm not able to do it because of a high of the energy which is coming to it. This is unfinished karma from the lineage, which is actually pointing towards our ancestors. It's a memory. Runanubandha. Like, these are the Sarpadoshas, which is often deeply linked to Pitrudoshas. Let me just come to the third point, like how Sarpadosha is connected. Maybe you have heard about, whenever we talk about Sarpadosha, and even I spoke about Rahu Ketu placement in the Kundalini. When Kundali actually we see from the Kundali whether actually the Rahu Ketu is placed in particular houses, we connect that actually we have some problems. Similarly, the word what we need to understand is Rahu Ketu. Why Rahu Ketu is actually connected to Sarpadosha? Let me just explain you. Rahu Ketu is a shadow planets in the skies. In astrology, you know, like Suryavanu, like when there was a manthan, which was being done, the Deva and Asuras actually were in the different positions, and when the churning of the mountain was being done, nectar came, and finally when the nectar came, the distribution was being taken by the Vishnu in the Mohini Swarupa. At that particular time, one particular Rakshasa changes his Swarupa and goes and sit in between the Devatas, and he drinks it. And when he drinks the nectar, finally the story is different. Like Vishnu, from his Vishnu Chakra, he will be able to chop off his head, which divides his head. Here, that particular Swarupa is Rahu Ketu, the particular Rakshasa who drank the nectar of the Amarvatva, or we call it as Amruta. Okay, Rahu Ketu, head and tail. We also, as I told you, it is also spoken as dragons. Okay, similar, connected to especially from a Chinese tradition perspective. What here we need to understand is Rahu is something like a desire. From an astrological point, also we tell that Rahu is a desire. And even let's give a very small and very simple example. If you are very much scrolling the mobile, you are addicted to the mobile, or you are addicted to some technology, and even addicted to the money, addicting to think about the money always. Rahu is mobile, or we can call it as, you may be wondering how exactly. Each particular planet is connected to certain attributes and particular things around us which has that particular guna. We get addicted, and addiction, attachment is Rahu. When it comes to the Ketu is somewhat like a detachment. We call it as moksha. If he is in a very good placement, it will take you to the liberation. Or if the Ketu is not well placed in your Kundli, or it is having affliction in your Kundli, we tell that actually the person will be always in the body desires. So Rahu Ketu together, they create we can call it as a distortion in the life balance if it is not harmonized. So its placement, and if you see that actually they always tell, astrologers tell Sarpadosha, Rahu Ketu, Shanti. All these are connected. Okay. So let me just tell you one more step. Signs of Rahu Ketu in the Sarpadosha, as per the astrology, is connected into 3 different steps. When a miscarriage or a delay in the children happened, you may notice that actually 5th house Rahu Ketu will be there. I have seen multiple kundlis where actually people coming and telling me that actually they have miscarriage in their life to their spouses, or they'll tell that actually their child as a special child. You see the kundli, fifth house of the Lagna chart will be having Rahu or Ketu. Next, maternal disharmony, or we can call it as not a good bondage between husband and wife. If Rahu Ketu is placed in seventh house, it's a partner's house. You always will be having a problem with your partner. Maybe externally you may be taking a very good selfies in and posting into the LinkedIn, like social medias. But trust me, you are never happy. You will always be unhappy with your partner and their behavior, their connection with us. All these things happen when you are in Kundli, seventh house, we have Rahu Ketu. Next is actually depression as well as a detachment or a spiritual blockage. As I told you earlier, you'll not be able to complete, or you'll not be able to. One more example of spiritual blockages, for example, if you have take an oath to go to some spiritual location, you'll not be able to go to that location at all. One, there may be a devata or a daiva which is stopping you to actually come there. One, as you may not be completely ready to actually go to that position or go to that particular kshetra. But let me make you clear, spiritual blockage, stopping yourself, jumping, hopping between one particular devata to the other devata, doing one puja to the other puja. Someone tells that actually you perform this Kali puja today, tomorrow Tarama puja, day after tomorrow Tripura Sundari Ma puja, lost. Finally they tell, no, do Bhairava puja. Trust me, this kind of blockages can be seen even in Kundli. It is like in the Lagna, that is actually 12th house, we call it as Maraka. 12th house, if we have Rahu Ketu being placed, we see that actually there would be a detachment and there would be a depression in the particular individual. Also there will be a spiritual blockages. They'll not be able to go to the next stage at all. But remember, this is not a curse. You may be thinking that after telling all these things, you may be opening your kundli and you will be saying all these stuffs. You may be saying, I know that, but trust me, this is not a curse. This is actually the footprints of our ancestors which they have done. We, our kids are our ancestors. We tell that actually our kids are much more matured, right? How we are able to tell? They are our ancestors. You may be seeing like couple of different cases when it comes to our next generation. Few of the kids may be very, very sharp. Like even by just telling by once, they'll be able to easily catch the situation and they'll be able to reciprocate all the actions whichever we tell. It may be mantra, or it may be ucharana, or it may be studies, or it may be academics, or it may be a play game also. Even it may be like today's externally playing the chess boards or playing external games, outdoor games, everything. You may be seeing like some of the kids are very exceptional, highly knowledgeable, highly potent to actually deliver it. How? They are our Pitrus. They carry such kind of footprints. And few of them, the kids are very, very silent. They don't care about it. They're actually least bothered about it. They think that actually no. There are two things which we need to notice here. One, it may be like connected to our Kundli, where actually particular Rahu Ketu may be impacting that particular individual kids. Second, their karmic footprints, they may be carrying in such a way that they are very subtle. They know that actually what need to be done next. Coming back, it is, as I told you, just remember that this is not a curse. Any of us, it is not a curse, but it is a karma waiting for a conscious closure. And how it can be done, I'll tell you later. The fourth pattern, what I personally feel is, when it comes to the Sarpa Dosha, is connected to the DNA. How DNA? You know that actually DNA actually is a spiral. It is somewhat like a snake. It will be like a ladder which is rotated itself, coiled itself, serpent-like format. It is like a serpent. I tell that actually DNA is somewhat like a serpent, not outside, serpent within us. A serpent within us is a DNA. Maybe actually modern science now tells that actually a DNA is like a coiled serpents, or you have heard about this, and even all the medical science today tells that actually it looks like a serpent. They also tell that actually it is a double helix because it looks like a ladder. Okay, spiraling like two snakes crossing the central axis. These are the modern science tells about it. Let me just also tell exactly like Ida and Pingla, what we have it from the Nada Swarupa perspective, whatever we have nadis, especially Ida and Pingla nadi, the twin channels. It is actually channel wrapping around the one particular connection. Like there is the DNA is connected in such a way that actually we have two. We can call it as double helix. Okay, in a science pattern. But when we comes to the local, or we can call it as normal language, it's like a ladder. One side of it and second side of it. One side is actually connected to Ida Nadi. Second is connected to the Pingla, and the connection between each staircase, or we can call it as each connection point, is actually Shushumna. In a yogic anatomy, this is connected into this way. It is not connected as somewhat like a two snakes on connected to the central axis. No, it is not connected. In yogic anatomy, it has been considered as Ida and Pingla, and it is actually bonded, or it is been bind with the Shushumna. How I see personally, a Sarpadosha can be as symbolical references. Maybe like genetical karmas, DNA. We carry DNA from our ancestors, right? From genetics, from our past generations. So karma is genetical. It is not only we bring it as per the karma vidhana pala, or we call it as karma theory. It is individual that actually we only take the decision that how much percent of prarabdha need to be actually be cleared out. Similarly, we can call it as hindrant memories, stopping ourselves, not able to do this, do that, do this, or even if you do that, I'm not satisfied. Hindering memories which is coming from our ancestors' DNAs. You can call it as actually epigenetic trauma. Epigenetic trauma is somewhat like a pattern, okay, pattern of suffering stored in your biological memories, knowingly or unknowingly. For example, let me give an example. Some kids are bound that actually they knowingly or unknowingly they fear something. For example, they fear to cross the roads. Even few of the kids or few of the people actually fear when they go to the higher heights. You may be thinking that actually it is connected to the Purva Janma where actually they have left their body. One, yes. Second, as I told you, it is all about generating karmas which we have done in our past life, or the DNA. These memories are not being in the physical memory. It is actually in our DNAs. And that also is connected to the serpents. The fifth aspect, what I personally see, is about the Kundalini. I believe most of you would be knowing it. Kundalini yoga is there, Kundalini sadhana is there, Kundalini puja vidhana is there. If you see Kundalini also, it's like a snake. It's a coiled snake awakening, and that is the ultimate. We tell that actually when it comes to the Shakti, from Muladhara to Sahasrara, rising our energies is what actually we call it as. We can call it as like the process of Kundalini. We can call it like Kundalini is a Shakti sleeping in a coiled format in the serpent in the spine. When we erect it and when we make that completely active, when that energy rises through all the chakras, 7 chakras, and when it reaches to the tapas of the to the highest level of the Sahasrara with the grace of Guru Bhairava, then we can call it as like the particular person Kundalini is activated. Here you may be seeing there are again connecting to the Sarpas. Kundalini is also connected to the Sarpas because it resembles. And let me just tell you, Sarpadosha can be representing the blockages which is arises here. Okay. Here, Kundalini, normally when we make people go into the certain highest level of Kundalini sadhana, especially from Ugra Devata Swarupa perspective, we see normally if they're actually not able to perform their sadhana paddhati completely, we see that actually where exactly the illusion planet or a disinterest planet, Rahu and Ketu, somewhat like external distraction as well as internal distraction is happening to the one particular person. We said that exactly where it is in place, and we'll get to know that actually how exactly this is connected to our deepest rooted DNA level, or we can call it as Kundalini, the energies which has actually subside into the Mooladhara. But when it purifies through the devotion, sadhana, the same Serpent Dosha becomes the tool. We call it as inner transformation. If you see, many of the greatest gurus tell that actually Kundalini sadhana paddhati is much more potent. It is rising of your energies from one chakra to another chakra. Please do not try seeing any kind of a video YouTube channel. Reason is, if you have seen that actually in few of the videos, people will be jumping or they'll not be able to control, or you may be seeing,